All right, so that's just a snapshot of what is playing out across the country. But let's push the conversation further and let's get some more insight from a new panel joining us now. But let's start with our guest right here in our Lagos studio. Is the Senate President, National Association of Nigerian Students, Akintaye Babatunde. You're welcome to our coverage of the End Bad Governance protests.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Well, I had to properly contextualize your Senate President because there's been a list of people that, a lot of Nigerians want to hear from, and the Senate President is one of them. But you are the Senate President of the Students Association. At first, I know that NANS had said we're not a part of this, on the one hand, but that's not to say that NANS does not, the word is not commiserate, does not identify with the struggle. So it's important to contextualize it. NANS identifies with the struggle against, the economic situation. Just to confirm, is that correct?
Yes.
So you understand and you identify with the fact that the economic situation is terrible and something needs to be done?
Yes, definitely.
So speak to us. What is now NANS' approach? If you're not joining the End Bad Governance protest, how do you plan or how do you hope to end bad governance?
Thank you very much. As you have said, we are not part of the struggle, not because we did not realize that, yes, there is hardship in the country, but we believe every organization has their peculiarities and their modus operandi. And to us, we consult, we consolidate, and before any confrontation. So when people are coming out to say, let us struggle, let us protest, this is an organization that have about 40.1 members of students.
40?
So over 40.1 million students in us. So if you are saying we want to come out to protest, many things have to check. With protest we are joining, who are the leaders? The protest we are joining, how is it going to be fine-tuned?
Sorry, is this 40 million verified, or is you just thought, okay, we have a percentage of young people, so naturally they're part of us?
Yes,
do you have a register that is up to 40 million?
With our, we checked the two schools we have in the country. When you calculate them, the amount of students, when you bring them together, it's always 40 plus, or by not 40 plus. So we have 40.1 Nigerian
students. You just did the math. Okay,
yes, thank you very much.
That's so, verified.
In a struggle like this, even if we understand the peculiarities, we as NAS, we believe one thing, that dialogue first. Because even the biggest war, if you should go to war now, you will still come back to the round table to resolve the issues of every issues that led to the war. So if there are venue to dialogue, if the government are not saying, okay, no, who are you, get away, we don't want to discuss, we don't want to talk, we don't believe that going to the protest straight, because there are many things that involve in protest, especially when it involves students, which we need to be careful. And we now as students, one of our responsibilities as student leader is the protection and the safety of our students.
But there are students protesting on this.
No, it doesn't. That is where I'm coming to. So that we said, okay, NAS as a body are not going to come out with the name of the organization. I don't think it was only NAS that has even said they are not coming. That doesn't mean some of our members we are not joining or they are not protesting. But when we say NAS are joining, you will see our structure, both from the zonal, the national, the state JCC, SUG president. You will see many schools that students will troop out to block their gate. So to involve our students in a protest like that involves a lot of planning.
All right. Pardon me, let me just interrupt your thoughts there. We'll continue with this conversation, but we must announce that we're interrupting this programming to go live for a program tagged No to Hunger, Farm to Feed campaign, brought to you by the administration of Professor Chukwuma Soludo. It's taking place at the Amansi Ndikwanu Road, 10 a.m. and it's going to be broadcast on our DSTV platforms. But this particular August protest broadcast will continue on other platforms.
From Niger, we now head to Taraba State, and there what's been going on is some statement from the governor saying that there is a situation room, they call it a safe protest situation room, that has been set up in collaboration with security agencies. And the governor says he's been consulting extensively with stakeholders and has been meeting some of the needs of the people in the state. I was speaking shortly after inspecting the situation room. The governor knows that to take no chances because the process could be hijacked by hoodlums that despite the day one of the process. All right, I think Bukola, well, that's the situation we're getting across the country. That's from Taraba. Bukola, I think, has a question for our guest here in the studio.
Yes. So back to your support for your identifying really with the issues of the protesters. You've picked holes in some of the demands that they're making, but basically, it's undeniable that you identify with the issues of hunger, the insecurity that they are demanding that they address. Are you also in support of, by the way, the issue of declaration of a state of emergency in the education sector, sacking of all corrupt judges? At least those are discernible demands that they're making.
We have always been asking the state of emergency should be declared in education. There's always state of emergency in education,
Okay,
even from our own point of view.
So if you identify with those key issues, why wasn't it appropriate for NANS, the generality of the body, to issue a statement saying we identify with the issues that the protesters are demanding, but we're not participating?
We did that.
That's a departure from we're not participating in this protest at all.
I think if you have, even last week Saturday, we had our Senate sitting in Ibadan. And this was the way we said it. We said, even though we believe that yes, there is hunger, there are some of the demands that are right that the government need to act on and take as priority. But we believe that if dialogue has failed, is where we can say we want to go and protest. But even if we want to protest, we believe we need to know what we are going into. It's not as if we absolutely condemn what the protesters are doing or what they are saying or the demands or all the demands they have brought on board. We identify with it.
No. The reason I'm asking this question is critical. It's positioning, ahead of the protests. We didn't see that. What we saw was NANS bodies, with the departure of some, perhaps from Kano State, NANS bodies repeatedly issuing statements, in fact, holding press conferences, dissociating themselves from the protest.
Many of the press conferences, we always have our press statements, which we give to the media. And by the time you will see them, see it being reported, they'll report the line they want to, they believe it is the best. Not all what was read during the press conference. So if you should just follow some of the links and not just stop at the level of the heading, if you should read the body of our statement, you will know this.
So if you're engaging with government according to what you said earlier on all the other issues, what are the outcomes that you are reporting? And how are you engaging with government? Is it at the state level or at the federal government on the other issues? Every issues we have has their peculiarity. If we have issues at the ministry or at the education ministry, we go to the Ministry of Education. If we have issues that has to do with power, just like the one we said to you, we went to power. We went to Rural Electrification Agency. We took our issues there. Recently, there's an issue we have in US about the scholarship scheme by the federal government, students outside the country, that the government stopped paying their money. We took the issue directly to the Ministry of Education. And they said it has to do with the Ministry of Finance. We took it there also, which I believe those students are getting paid now, their money back. So every issue has their peculiarity. So when we have issues, as far as the person we are writing to is listening, it is when he does not listen or doesn't want to talk or does not want to make amendments, then we'll come out and fight you.
All right. It's quite interesting times we're in Nigeria. And if there's anything that we're trying to play up in this conversation is the role of young Nigerians in setting the agenda, engaging governance, and ensure that we're not just stuck with that rhetoric of leaders of tomorrow. We're leaders from today, in fact, leaders from yesterday. So let me come back to you, Honorable Anyaki, who is the Deputy Speaker of Nasarawa State House of Assembly. What I tried to do with the NANS Senate President, right, is to walk through some of the demands and find out which of them he agrees with. And maybe I'll just quickly run through some of them with you as well as we begin to coast home on this one. So first one, scrapping the 1999 Constitution and replacing it with a people-made Constitution. This is your core job as a member of the legislative arm of government. So is this something that resonates with you and you agree with? We understand the process, but do you agree with this?
I don't agree with that.
So the 1999 constitution
Yes,
for
what
you,
do you mean by the people who made? What do you mean by people who made constitution? It is not angels or prophets that made the current constitution we're using. What do you mean by people who made constitution?
well, that question is not
Yeah,
for me,
constitution
obviously,
reviews.
because I didn't put out
Yeah,
the demand.
yes, I understand.
But let me
That's what I'm
break
saying.
it.
What do
Let
they
me
mean
sort
by
of
people
break
who
it
made
down and try to hazard a guess. First, just to clear this, you mean that you are okay with the Constitution as it is right now, the 1999 Constitution?
The only thing that cannot be changed is either the Bible or the Quran. The constitution can be changed every time, and that is why we have alterations, several alterations on the constitution. Currently ongoing now, there is a national constitution review that is going on between both houses of the both chambers, the Senate and the House of Representatives.
So basically, for you, it's an amendment and not a scrapping. For you, it's an amendment and not a scrapping. All right.
Yes, you need to identify. Sorry, you see, one of our problems as Nigerians is we don't specify our problems. Let's identify one problem at a time. Is it the whole constitution that is bad, or are there some clauses on the constitution or sections that needs amendment?
Maybe if you engage some of the protesters, you might be able to get some specificity from them, right? But the next point they made is that they want to, or their demand is to toss the Senate, right? They think there's no point having two, legislative houses of sorts. So they want to toss the Senate and keep the House of Reps. Do you agree with that?
In a cameral system.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see, as a representative of the people, and that is why some of these decisions we make, we give room for public hearing. We do them with the people. And as an individual or as a citizen of Nigeria, as a taxpayer, you can bring bills on the floor of the House that can be sponsored by a representative. These people that are agitating for a scrapping or a unicameral system of governance, it is not a problem of legislator. It is not a problem. If that is what the people want, we are voted by the people and we are for the people. If that is what Nigerians want, then I don't have a problem with that.
All right, Honorable, we're due for a break now, and I'm glad we're having this conversation.
Right.
And I know that a lot of the protesters are also watching and getting a sense of how to maybe approach this. But we need to go to break. When we return, we'll continue the conversation and give Nigerians more updates.
Welcome back. Let's get back to the Honorable in Abuja City. Honorable, you were talking about specificity. So I want to expand that conversation just a bit because I know that has to do with Section 4 of the Constitution. So Section 4.1 has to do with the powers of the National Assembly, and even Section 2 gives the National Assembly a lot of powers. In fact, a lot of latitude and discretionary power. But the question I'm bringing to you with that on your mind is, in this democracy that we practice, thank God you're a deputy member of the House of Assembly, a deputy speaker, my apologies. We have seen that for the most part, if not all, houses of assembly, members like you are literally appendages of the governor most of the time. And which is why it is identified as one of the failures of this democracy. If we have to advance, that has to change. So from where you're seated and where you see things, how do we begin to address that? At least this is not vague. This is not identify what the problem is. Houses of assembly, local governments are appendages of the governor. So the governor calls the shot. And all of us face the presidency and we leave the House of Assembly. How do we fix that?
Thank you very much. Honestly, that is basically the point on how to address the issues of going on in Nigeria. It is an independence of every arm of government. If every arm of government is independent of its own, can carry out functions on its own, can go out on their various responsibilities on their own, then I think we've found a lasting solution. But let me quickly tell you something. If as a lawmaker in the State House of Assembly, or as a councillor in a local government, and then you allow the governor or whoever to keep calling your shot. When it's time for elections, the governor cannot decide your fate. It's the constituents that will decide your fate. So when people come out and say they should scrap this, they should scrap that, My brother, if we are not doing the right thing, we cannot come back re-elected. It is not hereditary. We contest elections. We go out to campaign, and we give people reasons to elect us. When you've served for a tenure and you have not been able to do anything on ground for your people, you don't expect them to vote you again. So whoever or however you see a representative maintaining his seat, coming back, it means he is able to win election. His people are happy with him. And that is why you see the protest. It's not pointing fingers at, for instance, let me speak for myself as a lawmaker in the State Assembly. None of these protesters have come. Even in the unicameral, they're talking is for the Senate and House of Representatives, not the Houses of Assembly, or however. So it is clear that we are doing our possible best to see how this thing goes. But how we can achieve it, I feel, is if every arm of government will have its autonomy. For instance, the local government have been given the autonomy, which is long before now. As far as I am concerned, it's just sections of the Constitution that has been given clarity to. Because right from once in the Constitution, the local government is an autonomous system. Give the House of Assembly autonomy. Implement this autonomy. We have been given, yes, let's implement this autonomy. Judiciary, give them the autonomy. Do you think the executive are ready to give us our autonomy? If they are ready to give us our autonomy, we will keep doing the good work we've been doing. But so far, so good in Nasarawa State. There is good governance. We have a beautiful relationship between our executive arm and the legislative arm in my state. I don't know for other states, but it boils down to this. If we are not doing the right thing, we cannot get re-elected. Like for myself, I've told my constituents, I will come and contest. If I'm not able to do the right thing, I will not even come back to contest for elections again. So I think so far so good. The fact that you haven't seen this nationwide protest on state houses of assembly, it means we are doing our best to address the issues bothering the nation. Thank you.
But Oyanki, directly related to that also is the issue of local government autonomy, which is one of the points that members of this administration, at least those speaking for it, are using to say, okay, look, this is what the president has done to demonstrate his goodwill by, taking state governors to court, and the aftermath of which has been the granting of local governments autonomy. But still, we know that the challenge of state assemblies being appendages of the executives remain, and they make laws that directly impact on the local governments. Apart from the laws that they make, or because of that, the argument against that momentary victory, is that INEC should also take responsibility for the conduct of local government elections. So if we have not quite reached the place where we'll be comfortable about that victory secured as a result of that Supreme Court verdict, how do we overcome that challenge and ensure effective governance at the grassroots level such that the dividends of democracy can trickle down to the people at the local level?
Yes, given the local government autonomy is a win for democracy. And Nasarawa State House of Assembly as a house has congratulated the local governments, has congratulated the government of the day for doing that. But as far as I am concerned, it is a step towards glory. Because today, if a local government chairman is autonomous, the local government, there are responsibilities of a local government chairman. There are things that are expected of a local government chairman. These local government chairmen are overseen, but we oversee them. Oversight, the local government also is being overseen by the state houses of assembly. And sometimes when you call them, they tell you they don't have resources. But now they have resources. So our searchlight is now on them for them to do the right thing. Let me make something clear. This autonomy they are being given, they are not given autonomies to be on their own. No, they are still an entity of the state that will be overseen, but their money basically goes directly to their account. That is what it means. They'll be giving their monies to their account, not that they are now independent of anybody. No. Now it has given us a better angle of approaching issues. Now it is not the state government and the local government. No. We oversee the state government and we also oversee the local government. But if you directly to your question, do we think it is a step towards addressing the issues in Nigeria? Honestly, as far as I am concerned,
but should we be worried?
Mentioned about autonomy, even of the state houses of assembly and the judiciary. If every arm of government is autonomous, I think it is.
But Honorable Yankee, should we be worried?
Democracy, and it is a good way to find a lasting solution to these problems.
As implementation commences, should we be worried that state executives will be using state assemblies, to intimidate the local government, either through curious investigations for financial impropriety or corruption, as the case may be, such that it will render local governments yet again ineffective?
That is a bogus statement you've mentioned. Using the State House of Assembly. The State House of Assembly is an independent arm of government that is being presided over by the Speaker, who is the leader of the House, and by the Deputy Speaker, as the case might be.
No,
we don't report to
now
any
you're
governor.
independent, but earlier you said state assemblies also require autonomy.
Finances, independent financial autonomy, not decision autonomy. We pass a resolution for the governor to do. You understand? When I'm talking about autonomy, is finances. Our money comes from the executive, but our decisions are made on the floor of the House without any influence. If you want to favor the governor and keep favoring what you feel is right for the governor, that is at the detriment of your own constituents. If it doesn't favor your constituency, then it means you're not doing the right thing. And we are the closest to these people. We visit them day by day. They can reach us. Even when you come to our offices or our houses, our constituents are always there. They are with us. And that is how we address these issues. But thinking of using the state houses of assembly to victimize the local government is basically putting more on us, because our ability to allow this local government chairman or council members to carry out their responsibilities holistically will ease out our own efforts. Let me quickly tell you this, and to clear the air. As a lawmaker, your primary responsibilities are three things: oversight, representation, and lawmaking. These are your three major responsibilities. But when somebody is sick, he'll call you, he needs money. When somebody wants to go to school, he'll call you to need money. Why? Because the education systems and the health sector are in a bad state. So, solution to this is allowing local government chairmen to work. Because when somebody calls you, you call the local government chairman. Why is the hospital not working? Why are the schools like that? So even to say this, to clear the air on this protest, I feel what we need to do is face these issues squarely. What are the issues? Are the issues with our educational sector? Are the issues with our health sector? Are the issues? You understand? That is how we should face these problems, not carry them all as minimum wage has been faced judiciously as a problem. I will find a solution to minimum wage.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, it's great to speak from your own position, but the truth remains the truth. Houses of assembly haven't lived up to expectation. If not, the recklessness we see with some of the governors, it speaks to.
That's your own point of view. That's your own.
No, it's not a point.
But Nasarawa said.
No, I'm not talking about.
Nasarawa said House of Assembly.
No, I'm not talking about your states. You're here literally speaking on behalf of houses of assembly. So I said your position is okay. Okay, you speak from your own conviction and what you've been able to deal with since you assumed office as a deputy speaker and as a member of the House. But the Nigerian system, the Nigerian state, the Nigerian perception is that these houses of assembly are appendages to the governors, which is why they are wondering that why would the state governors be carrying out certain kinds of appropriation before the very eyes of the House of Assembly, because they feel that they are not doing their work. So we needed to put that clear. But if you exempt yourself, as I said when we started this conversation, you need to understand the perception of people. As soon as you become a politician in Nigeria, the Nigerian people believe you're corrupt. You have to decide to say, I am not one of them. So that is, we have to be very clear, and so to an extent I agree on that, because that collective failure is why we're here in the first place. Right now the conversation is let's even leave the president alone for a moment. Everybody faces the president and National Assembly. What are the governors doing? The FAC has increased. What improvements have we seen?
Thank you. That is how I want you to talk. Let's face this issue squarely. What are the governors doing as an individual? I'm glad on this same house, this same studio, my governor came in two nights ago, the executive governor of Nasarawa State, Engineer Abdullahi Sidi, and he has spelled it out. You can see infrastructural development going on in Nasarawa State. What I want you to agree with, we have not gotten there. But I want us to all agree it is a process that will be asked after 4 years. If after 4 years, Nigerians feel it's not okay, then we'll make a change. But when it's time for voting, Nigerians will not come and vote. Or Nigerians will collect spaghetti and vote. When there's bad governance, they come out and protest. And when it's time for voting, they will not even come out completely and vote. So who is the cause of the problem? And what is the solution to the problem? The problem lies on we Nigerians, and the solution is from we Nigerians. If you feel I am not competent enough to represent you as a people, then don't vote me. Don't vote me as a member. Don't vote a House of Representative, a senator, or a governor, as the case may be, or even the president. We're all here on people's mandate. So if we are a result of the election, then who is voting us? Then where is the problem? It's from the voters. If you feel you're not doing the right thing, then don't vote us or don't vote us back. It's as simple as that. But as a concerned Nigerian, I will tell you, I feel the pain of every Nigerian. The suffering, the hunger, my brother, it is very, very bad. It is very, very bad, honestly speaking. But name calling or blaming this, blaming Mohammed Oyanki or blaming Engineer Abdullah Esili or blaming State of Assembly is not the solution to the problem. The solution to the problem is coming together as Nigerians and facing this issue squarely. You've asked a simple question. Subvention has been increased in states. What are the state governors doing? State governors have improved revenue now. In fact, Nasarawa State will have an improved IGR. Our internally generated revenue as a state is doing excellently well. Gratuities, there are gratuities of people that haven't been paid since Nasarawa State became a state in 1996. Just that gratuity alone will go a long way for an old pensioner that's not able to work again. Gratuities have been paid. As a state now, as an entity, we have gone into major large-scale farming as Nasarawa State. We've procured about almost 23 tractors. Yes, and they are working on seeing how we can improve the food insecurity in Nasarawa State. Nasarawa State is a blessed land with fertile land. And we're doing that to address those issues. And all that are possible as a result of subvention. Have our salaries been increased as a result of the subvention? They have not been increased. But we're saying how we can relate it to people. But somebody will come and tell you, just last week, there is one of the members of the National Electoral Commission that was brought on the floor of the House. We turned down his nomination. Why? Because we are not okay with his antecedents. We are not okay with his profile and documents brought to us. That is what we do at the House. We are not being compelled to do whatever the governor wants. If it happens in other states, it doesn't happen in Nasarawa.
Honorable, if I may button here.
But we make sure we do the right thing.
All right, absolutely. Your points are noted. We'll keep the conversation going, but I must thank you for coming on the program. Honorable Mohammed Oyanki, Deputy Speaker of the Nasarawa State House of Assembly. We're happy you're a young person, so a lot of eyes will be looking at you to live up to expectation and to change the narrative. But we thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you very much, my brother. God bless you.
All right, so we'll bring you up to speed with some of the things that are happening across the country. And the very states, that's the Deputy Speaker of the Nasarawa State House of Assembly. So we'll stay with Nasarawa and bring you up to speed with what has happened today as far as day 3 of the protest is concerned.
Normalcy has been restored across Nasarawa State since day 1 of the protest. Day 2 did not record any protest across the state. Even today, there are no protests going on across the state. The groups say they have backed out after they have submitted their demands to the government. They say they are waiting for action off the streets. Activities have resumed normally. Residents are going about their daily routine without hitches. Security personnel have also remained vigilant, monitoring the situation. We earlier touched base with the police public relations officer, and he confirmed the peaceful atmosphere across the state, not just in Lafia, the state capital. He says there are no adverse reports across the state as at this moment, and he assured that the security personnel are on top of the situation, monitoring. He confirmed that 40 out of the 50 persons arrested for causing mayhem on day 1 of the protest have been remanded in the correctional center, pending the announcement of a date for their arraignment in court. 10 of them, he said, were found to be underage and are mostly Almajiris who have been handed over to their guardians. Normalcy has also returned to Kefi and Karu that experienced violent demonstrations which led to chaos on day 1 of the protest, led to vandalism, looting, stealing, blockade of the highway, and such like. Normalcy has returned, and the dusk to dawn curfew in Karu is still in place indefinitely until the normalcy is sustained. The state government has also urged the residents to maintain the calm posture and give the government time to attend to their demands. That's the situation from Nasarawa State. It's back to you in the studio.
Yes, indeed. Our correspondent there, Halima Gayam, reporting from Nasarawa State, providing very important updates here, and significant of which we can draw out is that 40 out of the 50 persons arrested in Nasarawa State have been remanded and will be arraigned. And she also mentioned that 10 of them were found to be underage, which is, part of which I'm going to bring to our next conversation. Now, I'm coming to you, Dr. Peter Gad. Thank you for staying tuned so far. Dr. Gad, by the way, is a civil society activist. This is, some of the high points that we've seen during this protest, or if you like, patterns. Underage protesters, particularly in the northern part of the country, which speaks to the challenge of out-of-school children. Some have also pointed out the conduct of the protesters, some of them dancing, which speaks to messaging, and the looting, that we've seen that has characterized this protest. What lessons should the protesters be drawing, the organized ones now who have representation, who have leadership? What should they be drawing as we move forward from this day 3 of this protest? That is, if we're still going to see ostensibly a continuation of the protests. Dr. Gad, can you hear me? Dr. Gad?
Yeah, can you hear me? The network is pretty bad, even though I'm using... Yes, I can hear you. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry about the network. I'm using 2 major networks, but I don't know why we're struggling to hear ourselves. But having said that, organizers of protests must put in place measures to ensure that underage children and irresponsible members of the community and society are not allowed to be part of a protest or to hijack the protest. Because when you have meaningful reason and you want to justify your reason to be on the street to protest against bad governance or any decision you are not happy with, and you miss that opportunity by allowing those that don't have a stake in the system to be part of it, they mess the whole process and mess the struggle. And then people now label you as irresponsible, or people trying to destroy the state or draw the state backward. So I think that leaders of protest groups must be able to have regular interaction with members of the public, must have discussion among their ranks and file to agree who is going to lead the protest, who is behind, who is going to ensure that people are not coming in to create problems. And again, this is where the issue of parental control come into play. In the parts of the country where you see this kind of kids coming out to protest, are children that do not have any major parental influence, because the parents have sent them out of their home to either go and acquire some kind of education, and the person that is supposed to cater for them too is busy doing other things, and he cannot account for such kids. And this clearly explains why you see several of them are on the street being arrested, and several of them are used as gang members or even join Boko Haram or other extreme groups, because nobody accounts for them. Again, even while we put pressure on parents, this is where government need to come into place. The Universal Basic Education Law makes it mandatory for every child to go to school. How many state governments are implementing that? How many of our public schools are functioning? How many teachers are happy going to school to provide education? And so whenever we're discussing this issue, you cannot shy away from the responsibility of government itself. Because when people come to tell us that, look, I want to vie for an election, whether you rig that election or you're voted in, the most important thing is that you're a leader and you need to provide leadership. You cannot be a leader and be given all manners of excuses at every given point in time. Leaders are problem solvers. Leaders need to be innovative and creative at all times. And so we need to see them coming forward to provide solutions to some of these challenges that we see. And I want to submit by saying that, look, the democracy we're enjoying today were fought by certain persons, including the CSO. Now, the tech time agenda was shut down by CSOs and other leaders. And so there's nowhere on earth where liberty and freedom has been gotten on a platter of gold. And so let's not demonize people that are demanding for change. Let's not crucify people that are demanding for change. Let's not call them criminals and label them. But let government play its role. If government is able to play its role, I'm sure no sane human being will go on the street to protest. They are busy people. They have responsibility. They are parents and children of people.
All right,
I think that with the protesters,
all right, Dr. Peter,
government need to do a lot to ensure that we guard the democracy. Thank you.
Dr. Peter Osman, thank you so much for coming on the program. Dr. Gad Peter, civil society activist. Of course, our guest right here, Mr. Akinte Babatunde, Senate President, National Association of Nigerian Students. Just 10 seconds, your last take, just because you've not spoken for a while. Just 10
my last take is just to also appeal to the federal government to please, the subsidy has been removed. They should let the masses feel the effect of the subsidy, because this is one of the major problems. Sending money to the governor to get to the masses, it has been shown that it has failed and it is not getting to the masses. Secondly, we know the subsidy removal, we have a refinery in this country that has been done. And now it is a shame that the refinery we have in this country has the power, the capacity to even give diesels and PMS to the country. But as we speak, we are still importing diesel in this country. The refinery is still exporting their diesel. So the government should ban those things so that many of these things can bring down the hardship on the masses. That is my plea to the President of the Federal Republic.
Thank you so much, Akinte Babatunde, Senate President of NANS.